as you can see. As usual, this is unrehearsed, no second takes. And maybe I should have tried where I was going to sit before sitting there. Yes, it's just a pile of sticks. Okay. I'm just behind me is the sea. I'm not entirely sure the name of it. It's a sea I've not heard of, the Lackadine Sea or something like this. And this is the beach, quite a private bit of beach with these are pineapple trees apparently. Not pineapples as in the fruit we generally eat, an inedible, if that's the correct word, kind of pineapple. If there is such a thing, makes me think it's not really a pineapple, but excuse me. This is part of living as a wandering monk. We get covered in sand and insects, but I've been very fortunate. Now, having arrived here thinking that the monsoon season had finished, I thought I could just wander from here to there. But on the first night, on Monday, when I arrived, it's now Friday. I think I've got the days correct now. It was pouring with rain. By the time, after 4 hours on the bus from the airport to here, this is on the west coast, in about the middle of Sri Lanka, near the probably 2/3 of the way down the west coast, past the touristy bit, towards Gaul. Having arrived, it was pouring with rain, and I was picked up fortunately by a tuk-tuk driver who has now become my upasaka, my right-hand man, doing the things that I'm not allowed to do, or supposed to do as a monk. But there's not much I need to do, just get my meal each day. It's early yet. I thought I'd talk now before the sun came up properly, before it gets too hot to talk to you outside. I found an empty building. We can, as monks, when wandering, find a tree to sleep under, a forest, or in the open air. But with this rain continuing, the monsoon, apparently it will be over in a couple of weeks, and then we get into the, I suppose, what is the cold season, which is quite still warm for me, but it will be dry. But in the meantime, I found this empty building. I thought, that's okay. But having made my intentions clear that I might stay in there for a few days, before I knew it, within less than 24 hours, this upasaka and many people all decorated it, put a bathroom in there and some furniture. I said, I don't need the furniture, so they've taken the furniture away again. So they've made me a nice little place to stay for a while. So I'm in this little room not far from here, across the other side of Gaul Road. So it's the other side of the main road. It's away from the touristy area. It's very, very good, very practical, very useful for me to sit and practice, be out of the away from the elements for a few days, few weeks. We'll see. No plans. People ask me all of the time, oh, how long are you here for? Where are you going? Well, I have no plans. I don't know. I just arrived with the view to wandering. I haven't done so much wandering from place to place yet because of the weather. And the buses here, tuk-tuks here, all public transport here, seems to be readily available for monks. You can't walk far before a tuk-tuk driver is quite insistent on picking you up and taking you somewhere. Not for payment, not for any other purposes than to offer you something. It's their way of giving dana to the sangha. So the bus here was easy, the tuk-tuks around are easy to get from place to place. And on that, I want to thank you very much for all of your very kind wishes and blessings and comments that I've received for this new adventure in this new country. And I very much appreciate those, and also I'm very happy and pleased at the reception I've had here in this what is a very beautiful country full of very lovely people. It's clearly a very Buddhist country, you can tell, so it's so apparent in people's way of life, their mannerisms, the tranquility, the calmness of people's persona and just demeanour. It is a very relaxed and gentle place to be. I feel very safe, although I've been warned, don't leave this here, don't do that, lock this, lock that. I mean, I don't tend to be very security conscious. I have nothing that much can be taken. So, but I feel very safe here, very comfortable with the people around me, and they're very nice, happy, smiley, and go out of their way, like with this room, to help me. So I owe it to them to stay for a little while, and I'm very happy to do so. As you can see, this is a beautiful spot, I suppose about a few hundred meters from where I'm staying, down on the beach through this pineapple grove place. Even in the day you can sit here, not too far from the sea, just over there. It's shady. There are no, it seems at the moment, it's not the tourist season yet, that begins next month. There are no many people around, it doesn't seem. If you go further in a northerly direction, along the coast there, then there are restaurants and hotels and things like that, but it's some distance. So I've come away from that, and they know as a monk this is my practice. I don't want to be too much in a tourist environment. There is also a temple, a Buddhist temple, where I understand there are one or two or a few monks living. One particular, he teaches in a local school. It's literally just over there between here and where I'm staying. I only moved into that place yesterday evening, so I put my string up to hang the robes and meditated and went to sleep. That's it. So I've yet to investigate it further. But there's this little temple there. Well, it's quite a large temple, I suppose. I've not met the monks yet. I think I've seen them in passing, or one of them, or two of them, and I will introduce myself soon. I wanted to get established because they will kindly say, please stay here, but I don't want to get too involved in any particular staying in any temple. There are so many offers, people saying, oh, come and stay here in this monastery, come and go to this meditation center, come and go here. Well, you see, I'm not a Buddhist tourist. I'm not a meditation tourist. I'm not looking for a meditation retreat. I'm not really looking for monks. I have my own Sangha, my teachers, my supporters, and I have my own practice. I'm looking for wandering or finding solitude and the opportunity to sit and meditate, but also benefit from the surroundings and support of a Buddhist country and environment. And if I can exchange for that my experience from other countries, and it certainly seems people are very interested to see a foreign monk in their country because they don't see so many, and ask me from where I am coming, where I've come from, and the monasteries that I've been to in the past. So if I can share that with them, then I consider that useful. And also I have this opportunity to share my experiences with you. So thank you for all the positive comments. It's going very well. I wasn't expecting the rain, but it's not been a problem because I've been so well looked after. And as you can see, it's a little bit damp from last night's rain where I'm sitting, but now I'm not crawling around on the floor. I'm quite comfortable and sitting here ready to talk to you. So on that point, this nature of these unrehearsed talks, I must clarify something. I made a mistake. Not a mistake, I think I got a bit mixed up. Let me read the comment. Oh, there we go. Think you mixed up between Buddha's son and himself. Buddha's mum died soon after he was born and being looked after by his aunt. Buddha's son Rahula was looked after by his wife Yasodhara and became a novice at the age of 7. Yes, I did get that a little bit mixed up. I was aware of my mix-up whilst I was saying it, but this was just the other day, very tired still. I'm now recovered from my travelling and changes. Yes, it's correct. Maya, or Mahamaya, or Maya Devi, the names of the Buddha, Buddha's mother. She did die shortly after his birth, and he was brought up, looked after by Mahaprajapati, who was Mahamaya or Maya Devi's sister, so his aunt. She did actually marry his father also, so she was his aunt and his stepmother, and she brought him up. Whereas Rahula, Buddha's son, was brought up by Yasodhara, who was Siddhartha Gautama's wife. So I don't know where I mixed it up. I got it mixed up there. And yes, Rahula did become a novice monk with the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama himself, at the age of 7. But of course he couldn't become a bhikkhu until he was older, because I think the rules were already in place at that stage that a bhikkhu had to be age 20. But that's a whole other story. I just wanted to clear up my mistakes there. I still probably haven't got it quite that clear. But hopefully that's useful. So beginning this day, I've yet to eat. I haven't been on Pindapat yet this morning, because being where I've moved into, I'm not sure, it was getting dark yesterday afternoon, evening. I'm not sure what surrounds me. So I will head back shortly to where I was staying before, and I'm pretty sure, as in the last few days, I'll be offered food down there, and it's not very far. It's only about 1 kilometre's walk away, so I'll walk down there with my Pindapat. It's still only 7:30, so a bit late for going on alms round, but it seems they don't, in this particular location anyway, go very early on alms round, so that's okay. I will get fed. It seems that's no problem. In fact, I've been getting 2 or 3 meals in the morning, so I don't want to get fat, so I need to just try and time it so that I go at the right time, around maybe 10:30 or 11 o'clock, and get just the one meal. Okay, let me just, I think there's a little bit of time, so I will just look at some of the short questions. One comment here, vegetarianism is just a Zen thing. Well, and Mahayana Buddhism, Mahayana Buddhists and some other traditions also often require vegetarianism, being a vegetarian. In terms of the Vinaya and the suttas, it isn't specified, other than we are alms mendicants, we can't be fussy. Now, I've talked at some length about this before, so yes, you're quite right, it is a Zen thing. Theravada Buddhists. Here it's great. I mean, they say, when they offer me food, would you like fish? And I say, oh, I don't say no, I say vegetables. They say, oh, vegetables, yes, and no problem. They very well established to give vegetarian food, so I don't have a problem. And that brings me on to another question. So what happens to the meat you don't eat? Well, I don't really recall knowingly having been offered meat. Sometimes I've thought, oh, this is meat, is it meat or not? And it's been tofu. They use a lot of tofu in Thailand, and it's very similar to meat in some of the way it's made up. I don't get so fussed and in this whole food thing. It's fuel to give me through another day. I'm very hungry. I'll eat what gets given to me in my bowl, and it's generally vegetarian. If I was offered a big piece of meat in the bowl and I pushed it aside, I'd give it to some animals or put it down on the floor or something like that. But that hasn't really happened in answer to that question. It's not ever been a problem. Of course, if I was starving hungry, then probably, you'd eat it. You need to survive. But I'm never that starving, just hungry because I only eat once a day, every 24 hours. And then that's another question. It says, isn't it hard to only eat vegetables once a day? Well, I don't only eat vegetables. Usually you have rice in these countries and you have dal. Now, rice and dal is a very substantial meal in itself that one can very happily survive on. The proteins and such like is in the dal, and apparently the combination of the two is very good for you. Then that is complemented with very often with vegetables of all kinds of different varieties, spices and flavorings and very nice things, onions and garlic, which I do eat, which I've also talked about before, and then also fruit is usually in abundance and offered to monks. So it's not just vegetables, but it is, yes, once a day. At the moment it's been a few times a day, but in the morning. But you can isn't it hard, you're saying? No, it's not hard. It's once you get used to it. Most of our I'll say defilements, but these desires we have that we're trying to eradicate, the root cause of them is greed, hatred and delusion, are habits. It's habitual. We build up these habitual tendencies, which is what we call addiction. When we get something that makes us feel good, satisfies us temporarily, we naturally build the habit to want it, have it again, to repeat that experience. And the more we do that, each time we do it, the experience is slightly less, so we need a little bit more of what it is that stimulates that feeling. And this is how we build up this addiction. But if we see addiction as just habitual, to break the habit, we just have to stop doing it. Now, of course, that is easier said than done. But as long as there's no physical dependency, it is just mental in terms of wanting this, to try and satisfy this craving that's been built up habitually out of trying to satisfy that desire previously. When we realize that that desire is insatiable, you cannot satisfy it, you just fuel it, you add fuel to the fire of desire, then you stop adding the fuel to the fire, and the fire slowly, not immediately, slowly cools, goes out. Nibbana is literally translated as cooling. It means, it was how they described taking the milk off the stove after boiling milk, putting it down on the side to Nibbana, to cool down. And this is what we're trying to do with our habitual tendencies of craving and addiction, and therefore build contentment. Now, someone said in the comments, I look very happy here in Sri Lanka. Thank you. Yes, I certainly feel this is a very conducive place towards contentment, and the result of contentment is happiness. I feel happy. I feel quieter. I feel more tranquil. In fact, I feel more back to myself, as I felt in Thailand. Even in this very short time since arriving, I feel I'm not having to speak loudly, I'm not having to speak quickly, I'm not having to rush from here to there. The pace of life hasn't become lazy and laid back in that sense. It's become more mindful. Mindfulness can, in very hectic, noisy, difficult environments, can be, as well practiced as you are, difficult to maintain. But even if you maintain it, the emotions in the emotions you experience you can be mindful of them, but you will still experience them. So you will still experience a little anxiety, you will still experience a little aversion, or a little annoyance, a little disliking. Knowing this is mindfulness, but when you're not experiencing those things, the mindfulness is of the not experiencing those things and of the peaceful tranquility, passaddhi, tranquility, passaddhi is the Pali word, of the mind that is possible by being, or by living in solitude, by living in places that are conducive to practice. And people are recommending, saying, oh, I know, someone, just a comment I received this morning, I know this cave and that cave in Sri Lanka, you could go here and you could go there. And yes, there's the comment here, will you stay in Burma at all in the future? I don't have any plans to go and stay in Burma, no. I saw many caves for monks in Sri Lanka. Did in Thai Forest Monastery, for example. Is that where you're headed? Also Waratarama, Sri Aharanta, and the list goes on. Of course, there's 6,000 monasteries here in Sri Lanka. I could go and visit one after the other, go on retreat after retreat after retreat. But this isn't my practice. I've been living like this for over 8 years now, and I've been a monk for 3. I practice meditation alone. I don't go on retreats, and I'm not like I started off saying, a Buddhist tourist. I'm not really excited about going and seeing all of the temples and the statues and the stupas. If I can just find a place to practice Sila, Samadhi, Panya, this is what I do. Now, that doesn't mean I won't take up the opportunity if someone says, I'm sure my Upasaka tuk-tuk man will say, oh, if you want to go to Kandy, some people will be going there. You could go to Kandy and see the tooth, relic of the Buddha, big temple there, or I could go to this ceremony or something there. But that's not why I've come to Sri Lanka, or why I went to Thailand. In my 5 years in Thailand and the most recent 7 months in Thailand, I didn't go and visit the tourist places. They're Buddhist places where monks live. There are firmly established sanghas, but I go there to practice, and I can practice anywhere that's conducive to that practice. It doesn't have to be somewhere that's well known or somewhere you've heard of. This place you've never heard of, most likely. I don't even know what it's called myself, and I'm here. But it's very conducive to meditation, and if I was to recommend anywhere for someone to really develop samadhi, if they were already adept at practicing in solitude alone, I would say come here for sure. But you won't find it in the catalogues, you won't find it on YouTube. Maybe now I'm here, but I'm not telling you where it is exactly, because it is unknown. I was told yesterday, you can go there on Uposatha night, there will be at least 200 people meditating. I thought, yes, that's very wonderful, auspicious, anumodana, 200 people meditating on Uposatha night next. A wonderful thing, a beautiful thing. A devotional practice also, the chanting I've heard in the temple going on this morning over there. Not my style of chanting, very different, in fact, a different style again that I haven't heard before. But I leave this to those who enjoy that kind of practice. My practice is Sila, Samadhi, Panya, Samadhi, developing meditation alone in solitude, in these wonderful environments when I find them. And I'll let the 200 people meditate together in their way. I don't wish to rush. Maybe on occasions this may come about in the future. But what I'm saying is, and which brings me on to another comment, is, if I can find it, how does the human establish right view? How does a human establish right view? I'm glad you say human, because of course, if we're born into the animal realm, it's very difficult for us to establish right view. For instance, if you're born as a carnivore, a meat-eating animal, you're going to kill to eat your food. It's nature. You're not going to have, therefore, right view. This is why it's so difficult once born into the animal realm to come out. But anyway, as a human, well, we listen to the Dharma. This is how we establish right view. But more importantly, having established from listening to the Dharma the principles involved, the practice, what it is, that is Sila, practicing, keeping the moral precepts of no killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, lying or taking intoxicants, practicing meditation, including mindfulness throughout all of our daily activities, samadhi, and panya, wisdom, developing wholesome mind states and reducing unwholesome mind states. Having established that from the teachings of the Buddha, the word of the Buddha in the Sutta Pitaka, and if you're a monk, you know, we very much are supported with the Vinaya Pitaka, the rules for monks and nuns. Having established this externally, one looks inside. Now the Buddha said, he was asked by this wandering god or ascetic or something that has been wandering the universe, or it planned to wander across the entire world, from one end of the world to the other, looking for enlightenment. And he said, you needn't wander, as you can wander around the world over and over again, lifetime after lifetime. This is not how you will find it. You will find the truth within this fathom-length body, this bag of skin. So this body contains all we need to know in terms of the example, the experience of existence, of anicca, its impermanence, it's subject to aging, sickness and death, of dukkha, the suffering we feel, or the unsatisfactoriness, and how anatta, non-self, we are not really what we perceive ourselves to be, or be it are we in any way in control of these bodies. Our heart will beat and it will stop beating, our lungs will breathe and they will stop breathing. Imminently, after aging or sickness or death, we will die. This is out of our control. And similarly, our thinking minds, we have no control over even our next thought. If we ask ourselves, what will our next thought be? We cannot answer this. We do not know. It makes our minds go blank. It's a good trick. What will my next thought be? Oh, there's a blank mind. You do not know. We cannot even control this. But what does know is all of this awareness, conscious awareness, and this is what we put our trust in, looking inside. So in answer to your question, does one look inward or look outward? A little bit of both, but primarily inward. We find the truth inwardly. Externally, through seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching. Externally, through these sense windows, sense doors, we are experiencing the world through good things, bad things, things we like, things we don't like, making these judgments all of the time. We guard these sense doors to protect our hearts, our minds inwardly, and develop wisdom. Unwholesome mind states we reduce unwholesome mind states, and we increase wholesome mind states by guarding these sense doors or shuttering these windows, averting our eyes from stimulating even pleasant things that we know aren't good for us, or not suppressing but guarding, protecting ourselves from temptation until we've built up the reserve, the strength to be able to deal with temptation when it comes along and move past it, knowing it as wanting arising and wanting passing away, because it too, this desire, is anicca, impermanent. So with that in mind, the answer is both, but primarily we're looking inwardly for all of this. So one more, another question, and then I think probably my time is up. I can't see the time on here. Oh, doesn't help me because I can't remember what time I started now. Have you studied A Course in Miracles? In your opinion, is it a good guide to realize the Buddha nature? I haven't studied A Course in Miracles, or do I really even know what that is? So I can't really answer that very well. It's miracles. A man asked me last night, what do you believe in? I said, nothing. Oh, but you must believe in something. I said, well, not really. He said, well, then, because he then made quite clear why he was asking this question. He said, because I don't believe this and I don't believe that. So he took then from the suttas, for example, one thing. When the Buddha was born, from his mother's armpit, he took 7 steps on lotus flowers immediately and could speak. He said, I don't believe that. I said, you don't need to believe that. He said, but it's in the suttas, so isn't it supposed to be true? I said, it's allegory, it's parables, it's fables, it's stories. Like in the West we have Father Christmas. I asked him, do you know that? He said, yes, he's a Christian thing in the West, brings presents for children at Christmas. I said, we tell children about that, it helps them understand generosity, and it's just nice. There are many stories in the Bible which are just nice to believe, like miracles that Jesus Christ might have performed. They can all be explained scientifically. All miracles can be explained scientifically. So it doesn't mean you have to say there are no miracles, or you have to believe that there are miracles. There is no requirement for belief in Buddhism, but there is the option for belief in Buddhism, if you want belief in Buddhism. So he said he doesn't believe that. So he obviously had some thing to say about Buddhism in general. And I said, well, my own practice is that it isn't belief based. I don't believe in anything, but I find the truth in the suttas of the Buddha's teachings, that there is suffering. That is the truth. He said, so do you believe there's suffering? I said, I experience suffering. From my own experiential point of view, I know there is suffering. It does not require any belief. And he understood what I was saying. This is what I'm saying here with regards to miracles. In terms of, is it the way to realize Buddha nature? I'm not entirely sure exactly this term Buddha nature. It comes from, again, another Buddhist tradition, Buddha nature. But we are all, in a sense, born innocent. Unlike the Abrahamic theistic religions, which in essence say we're born sinners, in Buddhism we're born entirely innocent and pure. And we, through our learning, through those sense windows, doors, through our experiences, we pick up these bad habitual tendencies, bad habits. We learn to be bad, but we're born good. So we're born with, if goodness, if Buddha nature is goodness, we're born with this goodness. And we're born therefore with Buddha nature. So you don't have to realize it, you should know you're born good, and all you've done throughout your life is learnt to be bad. So we have an unlearning process of breaking these habits, these habitual tendencies, through this practice of keeping the precepts of meditation and developing wisdom. And that is how we realize Buddha nature, if that's my correct understanding of what Buddha nature is. So I'm quite enjoying answering these, sitting here with the sea behind me, and it's not hot yet. So let me just, please excuse me, what I'm doing is I'm just deleting the questions that I've already answered. Oh, here we go, one about coffee, I like these ones. Coffee and Christianity, the 2 C's. These are the most provocative subjects that I ever talk about. I can guarantee if I speak about Christianity, there'll be a considerable number of comments. And I won't say it's a good thing, because they're not just people want to argue, debate. I don't mind healthy, nothing wrong with debate and argument, but there's a time and a place. This isn't the time or the place. I'm just a Buddhist monk practicing Sila Samadhi Panya, and I've got nothing to contradict anybody in regards to their own faiths, and I respect all people's faiths. So I'm not responding or going into these strings of the comments. Behind the comments, if I reply to a comment, for instance, then someone replies to my reply, and then someone replies to their reply to my reply, and so on. It's like a family tree, it goes out forever. So I stop at, if you send me a question, I'll reply. if you reply to that reply, I can't really reply to that reply. You need to reply with another question or another comment. Otherwise I get into these strings of debate, which appreciably in our subject here, Buddhism, that's fine, I can do that. They don't go further than the truth of suffering. So there's no debate. We all know that. We don't have to believe it. But on the subject of coffee or Christianity, it becomes an infinite wormhole of distraction, which I have no time for or inclination towards. But anyway, on this coffee is a cash crop. As a Buddhist, you shouldn't even contemplate drinking muck. You talk about craving, you still drink muck. And then he does later go on to say, I mean no disrespect. And I said, none taken. My response to the first comment was that, please excuse my ignorance, but aren't all commodities a cash such? I'm not sure what cash crop actually means, but having been a derivatives trader in my former life within this life, one would trade in orange juice, coffee, gold, silver, all kinds of commodities. They're all cash crops, and they all have their unethical nature behind them. But with regards to coffee, muck, it's not unhealthy. I suppose in too large quantities, too much caffeine could be a little, but without milk and sugar, it's not unhealthy. It's not breaking the precepts. In terms of the industry, let's say, and all industries have their dark sides and bright sides, but in terms of the industry itself, if everybody was to stop drinking coffee tomorrow, immediately, it would cause considerably devastating. People would suffer devastating consequences as a result of that on a worldwide scale. It's a huge industry. Many people's livelihoods, good livelihoods, come from the coffee industry. Now here, I'm ever so fortunate, and this could open up a whole new path of debate. I can now drink tea again. Now, I know I speak of drinking coffee, and enjoy coffee very much, and Sri Lankan coffee is particularly delicious. So this is relatively inexpensive, and thanks to your kind donations, my upasaka is giving me some nice coffee, getting some very nice fresh coffee, Sri Lankan coffee, supporting their very wholesome coffee industry, I think. But also here I can drink tea. Now you may think, well, in India, didn't you drink tea? Not really. It's very difficult to get good tea in India, quality tea, and their tea is generally all boiled up in milk with lots of sugar and maybe even some masala spices or something. And I don't drink milk particularly, and that is not how I like to have tea, with lots of sugar. I like tea with just hot water, like I like coffee with just hot water. Black tea, black coffee, and I'm equally partial to black tea as I am coffee. So although I've spoken about coffee for so long, now tea is my new vice, my new defilement to all you critics out there. I had some beautiful tea offered to me from yourselves. Upasaka bought it from the shop with your donations. Ceylon tea. Sri Lanka used to be called Ceylon. A wonderful tea industry, and unlike India, it doesn't export all of its tea. It keeps some for the people of Sri Lanka, so you can still appreciate the beautiful tea that is grown here in Sri Lanka. So yesterday I had afternoon at 3 o'clock some delicious Ceylon tea, and that I will enjoy just as much as I enjoy delicious Ceylon or Sri Lankan coffee. And I don't think it's fair to say it's muck. I think that, I don't take offence to that, but that is an unfounded comment, really. But you have, oh, where's all this sand coming from? I don't think it's going to be good for the phone, the sand. But there we go. That's the other subject that people about phones, isn't it? I think I should leave that there before I ramble on too much. Maybe this man who just came up behind me, I don't know whether you saw him, I only saw him when he got to about there, wants to come and sit here. So I should vacate this spot and leave people to get on with their days, and I will head off now to go and get my meal, get fed for the day. My apologies if I've rambled on a little bit, and I will only qualify that by saying it is unrehearsed. I wandered down here this morning. I brought my phone with me in case I found a spot to make a video. Thought this looked good and we've tried it out. It seems to have worked. Now I've got my balance, and we'll see where I end up later or tomorrow for the next one. If there's something useful in there, please use it. If not, just let it go. But thank you for watching. Right, very carefully. So I think